Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and I have built a set of mathematical models named Sideline that predict various sports outcomes. You'll hear more about the baseball model during the course of this episode, set to cover 4 Major League Baseball games scheduled to be played on Monday, June 12th, 2023. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com for some explanations and community rules. And a reminder, if you're interested in projections of picks for every single game, sign up on Dub Club. That link is in the show description. Cost under $1 per day. It also gives you access to our Discord chat where we have a lot of fun. Talk about a lot of other sports bets that we like, don't like, that people might have interest in, along with all the humor and good times we have there. So it's a lot of fun over on Discord. Plus, it'll be worth your while as a bettor, in my opinion. We've got 4 games today. The other 4 don't have lines yet. So if you want information on those other 4, when a line comes out, I'll be making a pick if there's a good one out there to our Dub Clubbers. So if you're interested in that, again, sign up, link in the show description, cost under $1 per day. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game. Does not try to forecast it to a T, as that would be a foolish and impossible goal. We take a long-term view on here, and don't get distracted when whatever the heck Sunday was happens, because that was weird, and it balances out in the long run, but it's hard to foresee before it happens. We had multiple aces just completely crap the bed. We had multiple guys who are very mediocre look like aces. It was a very weird Sunday. It was a Sunday that was somehow profitable. I have no idea how it was profitable, because it was one of the weirder days I can remember, but that's baseball. We're going to have some weird days. We take that long-term view. We don't get distracted, whether it's up or down or break even. We keep our eyes on that long-term goal. In other words, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to see it will be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, we're coming off a weekend where I believe Friday night we had 9 one-run games. I do not remember 9 one-run games yet this season, or anywhere near that many. And then the Sunday, I don't even know what Sunday was about. You're hopping back on here at a time where I'm looking back the last few days and going, baseball got weird all of a sudden. It was kind of like ho-hum, and then all of a sudden, just stuff hit the fan.
Yeah, it's been wild. I mean, I'm a big Braves fan, so keeping up with them over the last bit, it's been like they don't start playing until the 8th inning apparently, and just come back and win. So that's fun. But I mean, it seems like everything just went as crazy as possible. It's almost like college sports plays are being out there. Like it's not professionals.
Yeah, of course, we're super regional weekend for the College World Series. If you follow any college baseball, and it's almost like they all got conflated, and it was that sort of stuff. My dad is a Texas alum, as many of you know, so we watched along with all the baseball games Saturday. We had the Longhorn Stanford game 1 up, and Texas down 3 runs in the 9th inning. And it was like a walk, a hit by pitch, a walk, and then a routine fly ball to the right fielder who just drops it, and somehow Texas scores a bunch of runs in that inning. And yeah, that inning was so crazy. It's like that kind of was about how I feel like this weekend went. It was just completely weird. Like I said, it's kind of a miracle, I feel like, that we profited this weekend. But whether you did or didn't, I feel like that was a kind of a weird weekend that you just kind of move on and we hope for more normalcy going forward. Jake, I feel like Cousin Jared and I have discussed the lack of roller coaster this year versus last year. I was thinking about it. I have a hypothesis. I think the deader ball that they were using last year created lower scoring games on average. The livelier ball this year is creating higher scoring games. And I'm always talking about this. So if you're listening to this, make sure you're already aware, you may already know, higher scoring games lead to more favorite run line covers, more bigger scores, more 2-run wins, 3-run wins. Lower scoring games lead to more 1-run games. I think last year had a bunch of 1-run games because of the deader ball, and I think that's why we had that crazy variance. And then I'm thinking about that on Friday when there are 9 1-run games, and I'm like, this feels like last year where every game is down to the wire and you have no idea halfway through the action, are you going to go 4-10 or 10-4? It's just who the heck knows what's going to happen. Maybe this week we'll get back to the way it was for the rest of the season and have fewer 1-run games. Personally, the 1-run games are fun, but they stress me out a little bit too much. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, love to watch a 1-run game. Do not want any action on a one-run game. Yeah. It's a different level of anxiety on it.
Right. It's the same thing as, game 7 in sports or the play-in games in baseball, right? It's a lot of fun when it's not your team or your money, but when it is your team or your money, it's a little bit more stressful than than it is otherwise. But again, we've got 8 games on Monday. We're going to cover half of them. The other half don't have lines yet. Again, if you want that, sign up on Dub Club. Otherwise, though, before we get to today's slate, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. The way I scale picks, A grade money line plays will return 4 units. That is, the risk plus win will equal 4. So we risk proportionally more on favorites and dogs. It's like flat betting, but a little bit more advanced. That way I don't have to think about 3/4 of a unit or 1.5 units. It does the math for me. I want my A grade plays to return me 4 units at the end of the day. B grade plays will return 3. C return 2. Totals are flat bet. And the A plus play of the day adds up to 5. Little foreshadowing there. But let's get to it. And as always, it's scaling with the picks. Think what you like and leave the rest. Monday night, 7:10 p.m. Eastern, Rockies at the Red Sox. The Red Sox playing here on Sunday Night Baseball will have a shorter trip back home. We talked about last year the curse, quote unquote, of Sunday Night Baseball, where teams struggled a lot of times playing the next day, traveling potentially across the country while their opponent was rested. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago with the Braves and that terrible travel spot going to Oakland. That even carried over to the next day. It seemed like a terrible spot. I can't believe Major League Baseball had them play on Sunday Night Baseball, then travel literally about as far across the country as you can, other than Seattle from there. Boston, short trip from New York back home. Rockies also in a tough spot, though, with the rain-delayed game on Sunday, traveling across the country. They're not going to get there that much earlier than Boston, so both of these teams will be about the same disadvantage from a travel spot. Other than that, though, the Red Sox should be massive favorites. They have the much better starting pitching, the much better offense. Bullpen-wise, I'm not really convinced. I think when the Red Sox, when you got Kluber and Pivetta, and there's someone else in there that's like that, you got all these guys involved in the pen. You can't have too much faith in them, but their offense is much better than the Rockies. James Paxton, much better than Connor Siebold. His ERA is over a full run better, but the advanced metrics shine a even stronger light on that. Paxton's advanced metrics in his 26 innings say his ERA should be in the mid-3s. He's looked really good so far. Nice return from all the injuries he's had. And then Connor Siebold's advanced metrics say his ERA should be in the mid-5s. It's a massive edge starting pitcher-wise for the Red Sox. Model says it should be Red Sox minus 239. I'm passing on the side because the prices are too high, but I am going to play the total over 10. Model says 11.8. It's a massively hitter-friendly ballpark, and we should have winds blowing out to make it play even smaller. The Rockies have a terrible bullpen and a terrible starting pitcher. The Red Sox, I don't trust their bullpen at all either, especially in that park. Should have a lot of runs. I love this over 10. With regards to the side, Jake, I haven't built that run line yet. It's hopefully coming, the run line model. Hopefully it's coming this week. Right now, the price of the run line for the Red Sox is minus 130. I will say this much. I'd be looking at this saying it's a higher scoring game. If I'm going to back the Red Sox, I'm not laying minus 250. I would be looking at the run line. That's minus 130. Or I think you go the other direction and you take the Rockies at plus 225 and say, this game's going to be a shootout. I don't really know what's going to happen in it. If you had to pick a side, would you take the big plus odds on the Rockies and just say, who the heck knows what's going to happen? Or would you be looking at that run line at minus 130 with the Red Sox?
Personally, I'm going with the who the heck knows and taking a flyer on the Rockies. With the travel and all that, I feel like that affects pitching more than it does bats. And I don't want to be in the 6th inning or 7th inning trusting the Red Sox bullpen to not give up a run when they've got a 2 or 3 run lead and give it away there. I'd rather take a chance with it being tight late. And the Rockies, I mean, they have some names in that lineup that can actually produce and stuff. Will they? I don't know. Yet to be seen this year. But they can actually hurt you in a game or two, and that would scare me off the run line. So I'd rather take a flyer, but I think the over is a much smarter play here. I think in a ballpark like Boston with the travel and everything, I think we're going to get a lot of runs on this one.
And you wonder with any of this travel effects, if it's going to create some sloppier defense, that could create a couple of errors, something like that. Like you said, could affect pitching, location, extra walks. In a park like Boston, right, an extra walk is like a death sentence because with the wind blowing out in that park, extra guys on base, and that park, it's just built for homers, and it's almost like Coors, which is interesting enough playing the Rockies because it's like built for home runs because of the weird short left and right field, and it's built for doubles because the monster, and then it's built for triples because that weird stuff out in center field, how big it is, ball bouncing around. It's kind of like Coors, where it's just a hitter's paradise, basically. And that creates a situation, again, with some questionable pitching in this one, some questionable bullpens. And like you said, the Rockies offense, the model's not a huge fan of them, but they've been performing pretty well. Grichuk's having a good year. McMahon's having a good year. Diaz as a catcher's playing pretty well. And like I said, they've got some young guys coming up there. They're decent enough that in that ballpark, they should be able to get some runs. So again, model projects almost 12 runs, so over 10, the strongest play. And I kind of agree with you, Jake. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? I'm either looking Red Sox run line or Rockies money line plus 225. Not good enough for me to say I think you should play it, but if you are going to play a side, that's kind of an interesting flyer. Model would be interested at plus 240, and if it gets to plus 270, that would be an A grade pick. I doubt we see plus 270, but if we do, I will be invested at plus 270 just because at some point, like I'm always talking about, the risk doesn't change because the probability the Rockies win won't change, but the reward has changed to the point where now it becomes an advantageous risk reward payout. 7:45 p.m. Eastern, Giants at the Cardinals. Here's our A-plus play of the day. Only 4 games have a line, so we're going to give them all 4 to you. Giants a strong A-grade play here on the day at minus 113. Model says it should be Giants minus 150, that they win this 60% of the time. Logan Webb versus Matthew Liberatore. Liberatore has not looked good in his 15 innings so far this year. The advanced metrics don't really paint a much prettier picture. He hasn't been great in the past either. He projects to be well below average. Logan Webb, of course, is one of the better starting pitchers in baseball, 3.09 ERA, and that is no fluke. That is not inflated by the ballpark. The underlying metrics back it up completely. His rating is down to a 70, and he's flirting with being in the 60s, which, again, is that elite pitcher status. You got an elite pitcher here against a below-average pitcher, and that's the difference and why the Giants should be big favorites in here. The Cardinals, of course, have been disappointing all season. Their offense is solid, but believe it or not, the Giants' offense rates out better. The Giants' bullpen rates out better. The Giants have an advantage everywhere in this game. I don't know why we're getting minus 113. It's almost like, Logan Webb's not going to pitch, and that's why this number is like this. But Logan Webb is the listed pitcher. I always bet everything pitcher dependent. So if it is someone else, I'll get a push on that. But I mean, minus 113 with Logan Webb against a below average pitcher against this Cardinals team that is decent, but not good. I don't quite understand it. Jake, can you offer any insight into why the Giants are only minus 113, or are you just running to the window?
No, I've already sprinted to the window. I was taking that all day because this Cardinals team has just been very disappointing all year. They looked there for, what was it, almost about maybe a month ago or a couple weeks ago, where they started to look like they were.
They had a small stretch where they looked decent, yeah,
and then just fell off the planet again. I mean, the pitching has been rough. Like you said, Liberatore is just absolutely bad, just bad. So I fade him whenever I can. And if I get great odds like this one, I get Logan Webb going in this Giants team that just wins. That's all they ever do. It's like they're the Rays of the West Coast, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
They just get people to produce that shouldn't be producing anymore. I don't know. It's wild. So I'm all over the Giants here.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that about the Rays of the West. I believe they've got some people, and someone maybe can quote me back, but I think they do have someone from the Rays that was put up through their part of the Rays, not coaching tree, GM tree, front office tree, I guess you'd call it. I think they got someone from them, so it's not a bad comparison. I always talk about building the model and using my model, using other people's models, aggregating models, whatever you want to do. I really strongly encourage you as a bettor to assign a probability to an event. And bet it if you think that if the odds of it happening are favorable based off the probability you think. That helps you so much in betting. There are a couple of times a week where I feel like you don't need a model. And I feel like this was one of them. Like, you didn't really need a model to say Giants minus 113 was a smart pick. I feel like just knowing Logan Webb is the real deal and knowing what this Cardinals team's done, someone's going to comment, someone's going to think, oh, it's a trap or whatever. I don't believe in that. The books they don't actually do that, right? I know that's controversial, and there's going to be someone who just completely disagrees with that, but I can just tell you that's not the way it works. They're setting a line based off of their information and what people are doing, and there's people who still believe in this Cardinals team. I don't think this Cardinals team is down and out. I don't think they're terrible necessarily. I just don't think this is a good spot to back them given the massive pitching mismatch. And so I just think I've been on the Giants a lot this year, it seems like, and it's mostly worked. It didn't work when they got almost no hit, but other than that one, right, the backing the Giants has been pretty successful for the most part this year. They've been a pretty good team. I think we should do it again. Jake, the total in this game is 8.5. It is juiced to the under. Model projects 7.9. We've got a normal night in St. Louis, low 70s to start, mid 60s to close. Wind to be blowing kind of out, kind of across. So the wind might help it a little bit, but it's not really a hot night. Logan Webb on the mound. Are you interested in under 8.5? Is it at the right odds? Or what are the model says 7.9? How do you react to that?
I like the under. I haven't played it yet. I'm hoping the juice kind of gets off of it somehow. But I'll probably be playing it if it stays at 8.5. I don't know. I wouldn't play it at 8. If it stays at 8.5 up until game time, I'll probably take it there. But I just, like I said, the Cardinals offense not been there this year, especially I don't think we're coming back against Logan Webb. The Giants offense is good, but I don't see them covering. I don't see them getting 6 here, and that would be my fear is somebody getting a 6, like this game going 6-3 or something.
The Giants offense scored, I believe, 13 runs on Sunday after getting 1 hit on Saturday. They are not as good as 13 runs, and they're not as bad as 1 hit. They are somewhere in between, which is the case in most things in life. Like I said, Giants offense decent. They're going to put up a few runs here, the 4 or 5 probably, but they're not, like you said, they're not the greatest offense in the world. But they're so don't let Sunday fool you, but also don't let Saturday fool you either. The truth is somewhere in the middle there, and the biggest thing here, having Logan Webb behind him, makes this a really strong play. 8:10 p.m. Eastern, Reds at the Royals. Reds, obviously the talk of the town. Ellie De La Cruz, obviously a lot of fun to watch so far. Playing the Royals, which is the talk of no town. And Jake, are the Royals worse than the A's at this point? I feel like we have to consider this, right?
Oh yeah, it's debatable. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to have that conversation because I just don't want to realize that those are 2 actual baseball teams.
It's also true. I can't believe it, but the A's are playing decent. We've been backing them a ton here lately. They were the A+ play day on Saturday, which was a ton of fun to get that winner. Back to them all 3 games this weekend. The Royals just abysmal at this point. Playing a Reds team that suddenly has caught fire. Caveat. Momentum is only as good as the next day starting pitcher, right? And the offense stuff still happens, but the pitching here matters. So that's kind of the thing here. The Reds, Abbott looked great, looked better than I thought he would look. Hunter Green on Sunday obviously is a really good pitcher, kept him in that ball game. Reds have a lot of promising, good young pitchers. The weak spot in that rotation has to be Luke Weaver, the guy going here tonight. 6.27 ERA. Now, the advanced metrics he has ERA should be in the low 4s, which is closer to mediocre league average. He's not as bad as that number, but he still is the weak spot on this Rays team. If this Rays team's going to catch fire and win the Central, which is somehow not out of the question, partially because the NL Central is terrible, it's not going to be on the back of Luke Weaver. It's going to be back on the other 4 guys that are starting these games. The Reds relievers, not great. If they're going to be in contention, they're going to need to add some relief, but the offense is starting to come along looking better. The Royals offense looks terrible, but Zach Greinke is kind of the bright spot. He's one of the most improved pitchers in my database from the start of the season. After last year being so mediocre, the model looked at his age and thought, take last year, he's going to get worse. And that's where we started out in the season. He's actually pitched pretty well, kind of reinventing himself yet again. He's obviously a baseball genius, a savant, and he hates being called that, but he really is, a pleasure to watch and interact with and hear the stories about and all these things. Underlying metrics suggest his ERA should be 4 this year, and he's gotten up to league average. Now, that's not great, obviously, but for the Royals, that's pretty good. And B, given his age, that's pretty good that he can still be a league average pitcher. The Royals have an edge here with regards to the starting pitcher. The model says this should be Royals minus 120. They are favored. I cannot believe the Royals are favored. This is a weird world we're in. But at home, this would be a B grade pick. I'm passing on the B grade pick. I want A grade value just because I don't trust the Royals at all. But I think Greinke's been okay enough that if it gets to an A grade, I'd play it. That's minus 109 right now. So if it drops another nickel, right now it's minus 114. That would be an A grade play. But I do like the under 9. Model projects 8.4. It's going to be a chillier night in Kansas City for the summer. It's going to be around 70 degrees to start, closing in the low 60s. Wind will be blowing in at 5 miles an hour all game. I trust Greinke to hold down this resurgent Reds offense, and I don't trust the Royals to score on anybody. I think it's a low-scoring game. So I like the under 9. Personally, I'm waiting till Royals get down inside of minus 110 for an A grade pick. Jake, is there a number that you play the Royals at right now? I can't believe I would play them, but after Singer just got blowed up this weekend, and I thought that was it. Where would you actually play the Royals at?
I don't think I'm playing the Royals if they're favored. I don't trust them. I just
not crazy. Not a crazy.
Yeah, Greinke has been better than we expected, and I just don't like. It's kind of stink because the offense behind him, you can't trust that. The bullpen's not great. So I'm only going to take a random flyer with them with the plus odds because I just don't see the return value being good enough for me to ever take them. That's just me. I love the under here because you nailed it. It's not because the pitching is great and going to hold these offenses down. It's more that the offenses aren't good enough to take advantage of an average pitcher, like a league average pitcher from the Royals, and a just absolutely bad pitcher from on the Red side. So I don't see the offenses putting up huge numbers here. Take the under 9. It's a smart play.
Yeah, under 9. I love this. I love the push protection on that. I think one of these teams probably can score a few runs, but I don't think both can. I think there's a real good chance one of these teams finishes with 1 or 2 runs. I don't know which one because, again, Greinke's the better starter, and he's crafty enough that he's the type of guy who could really come up with the crafty game plan and really, be a buzzsaw to this Reds offense. That said, the Royals scoring 1 or 2 seems like a normal Tuesday. So, I mean, I don't really know which one, but I think it's unlikely that both teams score runs in this situation. Kauffman's a hitter park, but it's a hitter park when the wind's blowing out, when it's warm. That's not the case here in this one. And like I said, with regards to, obviously we love the under here. With regards to the side, I think it's Royals or pass. Jake, you're passing kind of unless the odds get crazy different from here. Not a crazy take whatsoever. I think the Reds hype is a little bit too much right now. That's not to say they won't win this game. That's not to say that there's not going to be value on them later, that they're not going to win the NL Central. I don't know. I just think right now the hype's a little bit too high based off the current roster makeup. I think we're overreacting just a little bit. I think them beating the Cardinals maybe says more about the Cardinals than anything else. So I'm just not quite buying into the Reds hype and the way they're priced right now. I still don't think they're a very good team. That said, the Royals aren't a very good team either. So if you just say pass, that makes a lot of sense. At some point, there's value on the Royals, I think. I just don't know when it comes. I think this is a situation, too, where, again, the Royals are minus 114 right now. I think there's a good chance there's Reds money that comes in between now and first pitch, and that Royals number keeps dropping. And at some point, you either think about it or you pull the trigger. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just think there's too much Reds hype right now. So I'm not playing the Royals yet, but if number gets better, I would be interested in the Royals. But either way, like I said, I've already locked in this under 9. I think one team maybe scores. I definitely do not think both can. And then wrapping us up with an under here, 9:40 p.m. Eastern, Marlins at the Mariners under 8, back to a more pitcher-friendly ballpark for Seattle after giving up bunches of runs on the road, and 2 good pitchers in Jesus Luzardo and Bryce Miller. Luzardo's been every bit as good as that 3.79 ERA. He now gets an 86 grade according to the model. 100 is average and lower is better. Bryce Miller, as a rookie, struggling a little bit as of late, but still better than average. And this Marlins offense, other than apparently the 9th inning against Chicago, can really be shut down. If this can be an 8-inning game, I love the under. The 9th inning Marlins, apparently, after Saturday and Sunday, are really good. So that's the 9th inning Marlins are a little bit of concern. But otherwise, this Marlins offense, just very meh. And a guy like Bryce Miller ought to be able to shut him down. Again, that Mariners bullpen is good. If it's a close game, they got a lot of good arms. And I don't trust the Mariners really to score much of anything right now. They had tons of chances all weekend, seemingly, against the Angels. And the one game they actually scored 6 runs on, they had like 20 base runners, and they still only got 6 runs. And so I think Luzardo can shut them down. Going under 8, model projects 6.9. There's some juice on it, minus 125. I'd still play under 7.5 if you're looking at that. Projected to be a nice night in Seattle, so I think the roof will be open, mid-70s to start, mid-60s to close. Really nice night for baseball. I don't think that's going to really affect the total much one way or the other, though, that it's open. I think this should be 7 rather than 8, so I'm going under. And we have a similar story here with the Royals. It's hard to really trust this Mariners team right now, but the model would give B grade value to Mariners minus 131 right now. Model says it should be minus 137. Minus 124 would be an A grade play. If it gets to the A grade, I am playing it. But again, Jake, my same question to you. Where do you trust the Mariners? Is the minus 130 that it is right now, is that good enough? Do you need minus 125, minus 120? They're a tough team to trust right now. At some point there's value, but where is that for you? Or is it like the Royals where you're just like, just can't do it with the way this team's looked of late?
Yeah, right now, I'm not going to back the Mariners. I want to see them prove it to me a couple times here, because something's wrong with that offense. Their pitching is doing very well this year, I think, but as a whole. But man, the offense, like you said, they had 20 base runners and scored 6 runs. That's terrible. I don't like it. I don't know. They've got to do something about this offense. They're just cold right now. And then, especially with the Marlins, the way they're playing at the moment, given the fact that Sandy's ERA is in the 5s, maybe almost 6s, and the fact that they're second in the East is just crazy to me. If at the beginning of the year you tell me Sandy's having that kind of year, I'm assuming they're battling it out with the Nationals for last. But
right.
What's his name from? I forget where he came from. The guy that's hitting 400, Arias, or whatever the guy.
Luis Arias from Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, he's having a great year. It's just been they're fun to watch because they seem to be always in these games. But
they've played a ton of one-run games this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I like the under here because, like I said, I think something's wrong in the Mariners' offense, and I don't think they're going to be able to score enough runs to get this over. And then the Marlins don't show up till the last inning, and they like one-run games. So I see this being like a 3-2 kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with such a pitcher-friendly ballpark like I guess T-Mobile is what it's called now. Park. I'm still thinking about Safeco, but I don't think it's been Safeco for a long time. And like I'm always talking about with these offenses, the Mariners' offense, it was never supposed to be great, and it was always going to struggle if you look at traditional stats like home runs and batting average and things like that, because they're in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. But even when you look at the park neutral statistics, it's been terrible. It will get better. It won't become, again, top of the league, but it should be around league average, maybe even a little bit better. But like I'm always talking about with a struggling offense, you always want to see a bad pitcher and say, we can get things right, get the rolling. The way Luzardo's pitched, that's not it, right? It's not a situation where you think, okay, here's where we're going to figure it out, because Luzardo's pitched well enough and going deep enough into games. It doesn't seem like it's an opportune time for a struggling offense like the Mariners to get back on track. You talk about one-run games. I think it's fascinating. The Mariners, I think, had the best record in baseball the last 2 seasons, each one individually in one-run games. They always won one-run games. That's a little bit of luck. In typically your one-run games, you should be a little bit better if you're a better team, but it's pretty close to 50-50. But the Mariners had specific advantages that should help them in one-run games, being their strong bullpen. This year, I think they're like one of the worst teams in one-run games. The Marlins are one of the better teams in one-run games. It's kind of an interesting thing to dive into, especially if you have a one-run game. Do you go with what's happening this year, and that would be the Marlins could win a one-run game, or is what happened in years past a little bit more predictive? The Marlins have been lucky. They're due for some regression. Could the Mariners win a one-run game? It's tough. Their pitching has been so good this year with some random exceptions. Logan Gilbert on Sunday getting shelled. Last week they had several games where they were giving up 10 runs a game. It's either like they're getting destroyed or they're pitching like we know they can, because they have 5 good starters at this point, four good starters at this point. 4 of your 5 starters are really good. The bullpen's good. There should be no reason why they're giving up this many runs. And half the time they don't. And then half the time they're like, let's just give up 10 today. And it's like, what is happening with this team in Seattle? It's not like they won last year and they have a hangover. They lost in the first round, or the first, I guess in the divisional series, they won the play-in series. But it doesn't make any sense why they are everything's just going wrong with this team. Obviously there's probably some Mariners fans listening to this, and I'm sure you're probably frustrated with this team, and I'm like you. It's really tough to trust them. I was hesitant to trust them on Saturday. It turned out when they won, I trusted them on Sunday. I thought Logan Gilbert would do better, and like I said, randomly he's just like, I'm going to be terrible today. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what Bryce Miller's been struggling as of late. But I do think at least back at home against a weaker Marlins offense, a league average Marlins offense, a not star-studded and not as good as the Angels offense, right? Not as good as the Rangers offense, right? He can get back on track. That makes this under really appealing. Again, whether it's under 8, under 7.5, I think under makes a lot of sense. And just like the Royals, if the price gets good enough on the Mariners, I would take them. But I'm waiting for A-grade value because it's really hard to trust this team right now. So I really need the payout to be worth my while. Otherwise, I'm just going to stick to the under 8 in that one. Yeah. That's all I've got here, Jake. Any parting words for the viewer?
No, I'm more interested in Monday's college baseball games. I like the ones that have a little something on the line there. So I'm big into the Tennessee Southern Miss one. That one should be fun after a crazy weather thing that happened with that.
On Saturday.
I had looked, but Oral Roberts might be pushing through. So it's always fun to see those smaller schools do it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, last I had seen, we're recording this while that game's happening. Last I had seen, I think they were up by 1 run. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, college baseball is a lot of fun. If that's something you're interested in, can watch some daytime action Monday. Unfortunately, we have no baseball daytime action. MLB again dropping the ball, missing out on the opportunity to catch our eyeballs. Instead, we'll be watching college baseball on Monday afternoon because MLB decided not to play a game. I don't know. We talk about it every week, but maybe again one day we'll figure this out and we'll have day baseball every day, because there really is no excuse not to, because people like us would definitely be watching and betting on it, because why not?
Yeah. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe. so you can enjoy all the sports betting content provided on this channel dropped right into your feed. I'll be back again tomorrow with more baseball betting content. Until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.